on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is your NXT No Mercy 2023 preview. How are we doing today? Before we get into anything, if you haven't been paying attention on social media, and potentially the other people whose live streams that I've been inundating with advertising, tune in Sunday, the day after No Mercy, to this very channel, this very pod, wherever you're listening. I've brought back NXT Rewind, and I've got a review for you guys, or a retrospective, I guess you could say, of NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. It is the last NXT TakeOver before they branched out of Full Sail and went to Brooklyn, went to the Barclays Center and gave us TakeOver Brooklyn 1. So please do check that out. I had a lot of fun. I'm hoping to bring it back on a more consistent basis than one every couple of months. But it is what it is. Please check that out. It will be the day after... I can speak, I swear. It'll be the day after NXT No Mercy, because I don't think anything else is going on that day. Didn't even know this until I brought up Wikipedia, but we've got a pre-show match on No Mercy. It's Blair Davenport versus Kalani Jordan. Blair Davenport's just going around hurting everybody, and Kalani Jordan was the mentee of Dana Brooke, but Dana Brooke just got let go, and that's a bummer, and that's all I've got. I'll give you a little hint for the return of NXT Rewind, the pay-per-view that I just reviewed that you guys can check out on Sunday. There's a tag team match, and one of the tag teams is Dana Brooke and Emma, and they both got let go. Emma got let go right before the announcement of the Australia show. That's a pisser. Anyways, Kalani Jordan ain't much. Blair Davenport is somebody that they're trying to push. Kalani Jordan, athletic as hell, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see her succeed. I'd love to see her get a better, longer, more focused chance to show us what she can do, but this is very much, she's happy, smiley, babyface, and she's going to get squashed by Blair Davenport because she's the one that was, attacking all the people in the parking lot not too long ago. It definitely wasn't Indy Hartwell before they called up Indy Hartwell to the main roster. So that's a nice and easy one. It'll be fine. I mean, it's a kickoff match. It is what it is. But Blair Davenport's kind of cool. Kind of want to see them dig a little bit deeper into her heel character. And if she needs to dig into Kalani Jordan to do that, see the pun there. I don't mind that in the slightest. And it's on the kickoff, so even if it's not great, who cares? Dirty Dominic Mysterio is taking on Trick Williams. Now, there's a lot to dig into here. Trick Williams going out on his own, away from Carmelo, feeling like he's being ignored by Carmelo as Carmelo's doing champ things and all that kind of thing. Guy's charismatic as hell. The guy is explosive for his size. Dominic Mysterio definitely performs the role that he performs. But Dominic Mysterio is sort of the linchpin of keeping Judgment Day on NXT and the engagement that brings. Remember the Women's Championship match that beat Dynamite on NXT a couple weeks ago? Yes. Another story for another day. I don't think he wins. I think the way he loses ties into him and Carmelo stuff. I very much see him trying and failing to strike out on his own. His buddy's not behind him, but he was always behind his buddy. This was going to be my big night. Where were you? You were worried about Ilya, etc., etc., etc. It's going to be a great showing. Dominic Mysterio is becoming a sneaky good wrestler. He really is. The match that he had on Raw with Dragon Lee, it's like, oh, cool, Dragon Lee's going to debut on Raw, but he's going up against Dominic. And then they blew everybody away. I'm not doing an episode of WWE this week, because I'm coming up here to talk to you guys about this instead. And by the time we get to next week, I'll be doing a preview for Fastlane, so we can cover off all the wild and weird stuff that's going on. I don't know, SmackDown's kind of a mess, but we can talk about that at a later date. Dirty Dom retains. I wouldn't be surprised if they have the entire Judgment Day in his corner. Not because NXT needs the entire Judgment Day, but it would be a show of force to show what a threat they see Trick Williams as. Trick Williams, now, we need to address this as well, much like I did with the Dana Brooke thing. Trick Williams wasn't initially in this match until this week. He beat Axiom, Dragon Lee, and Tyler Bate in a Fatal 4-Way on NXT this week to take this #1 contendership spot that was Mustafa Ali, who also got released. And as I said in my video on that topic, please go back and check it out if you haven't. The Mustafa Ali one is I'm a little bit more hesitant to be, oh, that's too bad, that's a real bummer, because not too long ago he wanted his release, so I don't know how to feel about that one. Now, Mustafa Ali getting a shot on pay-per-view would have been really cool. Mustafa Ali getting in there and making Dominic Mysterio look like $1 million. Awesome. Trick Williams, very, very cool. Like I say, big, explosive, charismatic guy. I don't think he's got the experience of a Mustafa Ali for what you need to make a Dominic Mysterio match work. No offense to anybody involved. I do think it'll be fun. I do think there will be a lot of character work. I do think we will see Mami returning for that as well. Dirty Dom retains. What are we doing? Let's do the four-way next as I briefly scan through the list of matches here. There's not that many. It's nice and compact, these NXT shows. The Family, Tony D'Angelo and Stax, are defending their championships against Lucian Price and Bronco Nima with Scripts, also known as OTM, or Out the Mud. Shout out to Heel Steven and all those guys who lost their minds when that name was announced. Good for them. The Creed Brothers and Los Lotharios. Now, again, it's a toss-up, because this OTM group that Scripps has, I couldn't care less. I really, really couldn't. The Creed Brothers, I would love to see pick up those titles, but I would also love to see on the main roster sooner rather than later. So it's a case of give them the belts or give them the call-up. Los Lotharios, can't lose this either, because they've just gone through all the weird, and it has been weird. Let's not mince our words. It has been weird to them, going home and almost giving up and having dreams about their grandfather, and all of a sudden they've got tiger claw marks on their chests and whatnot. So they're going through some kind of rebranding, some kind of refocusing and whatnot. But them losing here is a way of saying, that rebranding doesn't matter in the slightest. Scripts being in there, with it being a fatal four-way, and typically fatal four-ways, triple threat matches, multi-person matches are no DQ, so I do predict that Scripts will get involved in the match. Reggie, for those of you that don't know, but if you don't know, you wouldn't be listening to this, he's got a weird level of energy and approach that he brings to matches. I think he could be a little bit of a chaotic element here, but that doesn't change my opinion on OTM getting the win, and ultimately I want Tony D and Stax to win, because I don't want them to go up to the main roster. There's been a lot of cool call-ups recently, and the old days of, somebody cool like a Finn Balor getting called up to the main roster, being made babyface, being told to smile and go out there and wear bright blue tights. Those days are kind of over. It is what it is. I don't know that Tony D and Stax translates on the main roster. I don't. I think they could be like the tag team gatekeepers of NXT, and that could be cool, or they could do some other stuff in NXT. I don't want to see them go up. I don't want to see them lose the belts. The Creed Brothers don't need them, because they should be called up. Creed Brothers versus the Viking Raiders. Let's have a bit of that. Los Lotharios, I don't know. I have a sneaky suspicion that they might see it as enough of a swerve that Angel and Humberto winning the titles could be a thing. But then, I don't know. I don't know what I think about that at that point, because I always look at it, and we'll get to the Carmelo match when we get to it, and I've said this in the past couple of previews. I always look at it as, if you're the champion, if I'm picking you to lose, I'm picking you to get called up, right? But Tony D and Stax going up to the main roster, I don't know. The Creeds, obviously, they're ready. They have been ready for a while. If the Usos were still a solid tag team, I'd love to see the Creeds versus the Usos. That'd be awesome. I don't know. DIY! Put DIY back together and put them up against the Creeds. I mean, put DIY together and put them against the Usos, but that's another story for another day. I don't know what to do with this one, guys. I really don't. I want to go the safe route and keep it on Tony D and Stax, but then you're just burying 3 teams at once, and I know that won't be everybody's cup of tea. The British Rounds Rules match for the NXT Heritage Cup used to be the NXT UK Heritage Cup, but don't mind that. Noam Dar with Metaphor in his corner versus Butch, who's apparently, according to Wikipedia, going to have Tyler Bate in his corner. I like the British Rounds Rules thing. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit unique. It's kind of like I'm loath to give AEW or ROH any credit in this regard, but it's why I kind of like the Pure Rules match. Just give me something a little bit different. Butch carrying around that title or that trophy on Raw would be hilarious. If Butch and Tyler Bate, reform like 2/3 of the British Strong Style, and that brings Tyler Bate to the main roster. I don't know that that's a thing. I like the rules. I like Noam Dar being the champion more than I like a Noam Dar match these days. I've got a big, huge lot of time for Pete Dunne, aka Butch. You guys know, check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. He was the champion at Destiny, and that started convincing me to go to Destiny wrestling shows here in Mississauga, just outside Toronto, Canada. The match that got me to go to Destiny for the first time, who remembers? That's right, it was Pete Dunne versus John Morrison, and it was a lot of fun. Kind of want Butch to win this. And I kind of want him to use this as a catalyst to take his real name back, because something semi-serious like them putting a Butch nameplate on the Heritage Cup and saying, no, that's not my name, and then putting a proper Pete Dunne nameplate on there would be really, really cool. Noam Dar's gaggle of jobbers are a good gaggle of jobbers, and that's about it. When was the last time Noam Dar had a match? Pete Dunne has an excuse to come spend a little bit more time in NXT. That won't hurt my feelings either. It's fine. Oh man, let's talk about. I don't want to start it off by once again saying what should I say about this match. I will start this off by saying, who am I supposed to be cheering for in this match? It's Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin. I like the new reborn Baron Corbin. I've said it before. I think it's the closest we've ever come to the old school Baron Corbin from NXT back in the day, the sort of like the anti-indie guy, and I really liked him. He's in Unstoppable, the review that you guys can check out on Sunday as well. Please go check it out. I had a lot of fun doing it, and this is back when people really liked Baron Corbin too. He was taking on Rhino, if you want a spoiler, in that match back in the day in 2015, I think. Braun Breaker is an amazing heel. Way better than he was as a face, in my personal opinion. Seems like he's found his feet in this character. He's absolutely batshit crazy. The fact that they went through like 2 or 3 separate segments of these guys kicking the shit out of each other in the back. This is the kind of thing that's going to solidify this sort of rebirth of Baron Corbin. Most people won't agree with me when I say this. I don't think Braun Breaker needs this win. I think Baron Corbin on the main roster was so lame for so long. Baron Corbin needs this win more than Braun Breaker does. And Braun Breaker, coming off of this loss, has an excuse to go more nuts. So that's a cool thing as well. Imagine if Trick Williams became the North American champion, and Braun Breaker, even more nuts after losing to Baron Corbin, decides to take it out on Trick Williams and get himself a different belt. That could be a cool thing. Literally nobody is going to agree with me on that, by the way. I'm pretty sure everybody else is pulling for that guy with a bit of the dog in him, Braun Breaker. And like I say, Braun Breaker winning the match won't hurt my feelings either. He is the young, new, ready to go to the main roster like the Creeds prospect. So what I'm asking for doesn't make much sense. It's just like Baron Corbin is in that role that Dolph Ziggler had. He's just been let go. That The Miz has. That who's another good example? Natalya in the women's division has. It's just, he's so good at annoying people enough to want to see him get his ass kicked, but eventually that should get you something. He was the commissioner, and then they blamed him for the ratings on television, and then he was the poor guy, and then he was the rich guy, and then they did the king thing that they have to do with everybody. This is the closest thing. This new, I guess they're calling it the burn the ships version of Baron Corbin, is the closest thing we've had to the Lone Wolf in, counting it, 8 years. Give him something, because he's doing some good shit. And this all came together based on Braun Breaker caving in Von Wagner's head, and Baron Corbin being on commentary and calling him out, and thinking that we were going to get a babyface turn from Baron Corbin and give him like a tongue lashing type of idea. And then he's, that was really cool. So they both like that Von Wagner got hurt, but they disagree on how much of a heel each of them are, and it was very weird. And like I say, you don't have to always do a heel babyface dynamic. I'm going into this match saying I don't know who I'm supposed to cheer for, and I really don't care. I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little in the corner of Baron Corbin, but I don't mind a heel versus heel match. I've always said take the two of them in their prime. Lying, cheating, and stealing Eddie Guerrero versus the dirtiest player in the game, Ric Flair. Nobody would have ever complained. And that can go for this too. Like, it can be a game of one-upsmanship. Who can be the shittiest heel? Who can be the worst cheater? Who can get away with more? Like, you can play with that. You can play with heel versus heel way more than you can play with face versus face. Because face versus face is, oh, you just smacked me in the face, but I still respect you. Okay, I'll smack you in the face. Okay, you still respect me. Oh, are you trying to push me too far? But I still respect you. Let's have a really tense handshake. That's lame by comparison to what heels versus heels can do, because wrestling is the emulation of violence on another person, and that lends itself way more to heels, where it's like, who can be the bigger asshole than who can be the bigger guy pretending to be a nice guy. Do you want, like, original NXT Bayley versus John Cena? No, you don't. Not really. Not really. I'm pulling for Corbin. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. Let's move on. Let's go to the... I don't want to say anything because I don't want to make it sound like a dig at Carmelo Hayes. But let's look at the Name Up in Lights match of the night. It's the rematch for the NXT Women's Championship. Tiffany Stratton trying to get her belt back off of Becky Lynch. A lot of cool things going on here. Tiffany Stratton is awesome. Tiffany Stratton, another one that doesn't need to be in NXT. I've said it before, I will say it again. I've said it on social media, and I will say it again on social media, probably. Tiffany Stratton is so good at the blonde, ditzy, arrogant Barbie doll character. She's so good at that character that people are still, even with the credit that she's getting, overlooking how great I think she really is. And that's a bummer. That's a shame, because the match she had with Becky was great. Oh, you could see one or two spots in the match where Becky was kind of telling her what to do. It's like, well, first of all, that's what NXT is for. Second of all, it's Becky fucking Lynch. Why would you not take advice from Becky Lynch on how to make an awesome match better? Now, it's going to be an Extreme Rules match, so there's even more of a chance to cover up whatever few things that Tiffany Stratton may be missing. I don't know what those things are, personally. I would love for Tiffany Stratton to get the scalp off of Becky Lynch and have it be a quick Becky took the belt so that she could hand it back to her, along with a cool win on paper. She lost the title. This is a key thing for me as well. She lost the title on TV. If she wins it back on pay-per-view, that's what sticks. I'm sorry, like, we are sort of getting back into the era of old NXT when takeovers first became a thing, where a lot of people would say you don't really need to watch the week-to-week show, just catch the takeover and the video packages will catch you up. I don't know that we're quite there yet, because I still would not say that these current specials that they're doing now are of a takeover caliber overall. No offense to anybody involved, that's just where I'm sitting right now. But I do think that more people will see what's going on a Saturday night in, I don't even know where this is. I had it written down. Let's just, go up here. In Bakersfield, California. There's more people going to see that win in Bakersfield, California than at the PC. PC also has a lot of same people all the time, so you don't really get a good gauge. The people that are going to see this are the people that have paid to get into the Mechanics Bank Arena in Bakersfield, California. Much bigger audience, a paying audience, an audience that has parted with their precious dollar to go see this pay-per-view. So, yes, she lost to Becky Lynch, and she will win against Becky Lynch bigger, if she does win. The other part of that, though, is you've heard Becky Lynch a lot talking in interviews and whatnot about what it means to be a champion that gives back, and the way she's trying to use the NXT Championship to give back, because the main roster championship is on Rhea Ripley, who is benefiting from it on her own. Becky Lynch carrying that NXT title gives her an excuse to be on NXT, means she can give a lot of people the rub on NXT, and much like they did with Dragon Lee and Dominic Mysterio last week on Raw, who's to say that somebody doesn't show up on Raw in front of that crowd to get their shot at Becky Lynch, to show the wider audience and show the larger in-house audience what they can do. I want Tiffany Stratton, like I said, to repeat myself, I want her to get her scalp off of Becky Lynch, but I don't want it yet. Like, if she defeats her here, and Tiffany Stratton, like, I don't know, either loses it or goes and has somewhat of a turn or whatever, and Becky Lynch gets to interact with a couple of other people. Now, she's interacted with Kiana James because they had that tag match. She's interacted with Lyra Valkyria in a tag team scenario. I would love to see her and Roxanne Perez at some point. There's a lot of people. Fallon Henley, the one that hangs out with Briggs and Jensen, who hasn't... I can't remember the last time I saw her actually wrestle, but I don't watch NXT every week. I'd love to see Fallon Henley versus Becky. Just like, you know, open challenge, like friendly open challenge, like, hey, let's have a go. Becky Lynch and Blair Davenport. If you want to show what a devious, scandalous heel Blair Davenport is, that's an entirely different character to what Tiffany Stratton is doing. And maybe there's an upset and she gets it off of her as well. Now, the elephant in the room, and I use that term very carefully, there's a brand new signing in NXT, and I shouldn't even say NXT, I shouldn't even say WWE. It's the first WWE signing of the TKO era. Jade Cargill, or what's the new name that they've floated around there? It's Jaden Parker. People are going to get mad about that before it even happens. There's a rumor that she might show up on Saturday at the show. And I think it's counter to the rumor. Yes, I made the joke earlier, no, there's nothing happening on Sunday. Yes, I know, Wrestle Dream is happening on Sunday. Wrestle Dream happens on the 1st. Is it the 1st? It is the 1st, isn't it? Yep, it's the 1st. Wrestle Dream is when Edge's contract with WWE officially expires, and the rumor is that Edge is going to show up at Wrestle Dream. I don't know for what, maybe to help with the Christian Cage match with Darby Allin. We don't need to talk about it, it's AEW. It would be really spiteful and funny for WWE to early debut Jade Cargill at an NXT pay-per-view just to get the jump on news of the weekend. I think that would be really funny. I think to have Jade Cargill staring down Becky Lynch on an NXT pay-per-view, or PLE, I think it would steal a bit of the thunder. I'm not a huge Jade Cargill fan. You guys know I've not made any secret of that. I think she's kind of trash, actually. Wherever Jade Cargill shows up, she's taking up a segment, taking up a match, taking up an opponent that I could rather see somebody that I'm actually interested in. So I don't have... as a fan, I don't have any love in my heart for Jade Cargill. I don't see the hype. I don't think she's that great. That's just me. If you do, then you're winning. But even I can't deny that an NXT show that ends on a stare down between Becky Lynch and Jade Cargill, it will be the first big headline of the weekend, and AEW would have to play catch up. Is WWE that petty? I don't think they are. Do I think that WWE are even going to put her in NXT? I don't know, because there's so many people on social media already that are saying that it would be such an insult if they put Jade Cargill in NXT. And but what I don't get is when she was like 50-0 or whatever, that was the whole 50 matches of her career. So she is new, she is developing, NXT is developmental. Anyways, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it would be really hilarious if it did. I'll say this. If Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov goes on before Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton, if they bump up, because Becky Lynch is a big name for an NXT pay-per-view anyway, so you could get away with making Tiffany Stratton versus Becky Lynch the main event anyway. Nobody would really question that. But I think if Becky Lynch and Tiffany Stratton is the main event, then A, Becky Lynch is going over, and B, it's a lot more likely that we get the Jade Cargill surprise appearance. At NXT Unstoppable, the one that I've reviewed, and you guys will get to listen to on Sunday, if you like. NXT Rewind, it's coming back, baby. After the main event was the surprise debut of Samoa Joe. Am I drawing a comparison between Samoa Joe and Jade Cargill? Absolutely fucking not. I have way more respect for Samoa Joe than that, but it is what it is, and if NXT wants to get back on form, I don't know. I don't know, but that would mean that that was the main event instead of round 2 of Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov. Now, back at the Great American Bash, Carmelo Hayes did retain. There was a bit of chicanery afoot. There was Trick Williams at ringside. There was an altercation. Nobody really did anything too shady, but it's kind of hanging over. Carmelo Hayes' head now that, hey, you know, your buddy's off doing his own thing now. Do you think it's going to end up the same way, etc., etc., etc.? Now, on the off chance that Trick Williams is not involved in this, we did have Wes Lee walk off and supposedly quit. Could he be coming back and taking another jab at Carmelo Hayes and cost him the match potentially, or at least get involved? If I was Wes Lee and I wanted to get at Carmelo Hayes, I would help Carmelo Hayes win so that Carmelo Hayes had to walk away saying, I've still got the belt, but I didn't actually win again. And then that would be picked up by Ilya Dragunov, who would do the picking until Carmelo Hayes goes nuts, and that's when Wes Lee would strike. That's what I would do. Do I think Wes Lee's going to be on the card? Not necessarily. Do I think this is going to be a great match? Yes, obviously. Ilya Dragunov is fucking insane, and every time he talks about hurting people, it's just a little more than PG. Carmelo Hayes is the star of NXT. Absolute star. Now, we've got main roster people there. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the entire Judgment Day will be there. So you're gonna have Dirty Dom, obviously, but I think Rhea, Priest, Finn Balor, maybe even JD McDonough, who knows, might be there as well. They are big stars. They're big main roster visiting NXT stars. Same thing with Becky Lynch. But if you look at the NXT roster itself, Carmelo Hayes is by far and away the biggest star on that show. He does have the occasional match that doesn't live up to the hype. He does have the occasional match where it does drag and it seems like a bunch of wrestling happening in front of you, to quote the great Michael Hamflett. But overall, the way he carries himself, his second match in the first or second match in the company was on NXT against Adam Cole. Like, they've got faith in him for a reason. He carries the belt like a champion. I wish it was a different looking belt, but that's fine. If he loses, he's going to the main roster. If he loses, he's going to the main roster. If Wes Lee costs him that championship and Ilya Dragunov becomes champion, then I would almost suggest to you that he's going to the main roster and Wes Lee is following him. Which would be a cool story, because Wes Lee breaks into a pay-per-view, tries to get his hands on Carmelo Hayes, ends up costing Carmelo Hayes the championship, but more importantly, he wants retribution for that match that he had with Carmelo Hayes, where he took the dive to the outside and couldn't make the 10 count, and whatever the case may be. Now, Wes Lee making the chance, okay, what did I want out of that match? Did I want the championship, or did I want to get my hands on Carmelo Hayes? And just following it, not being called up officially, still being an NXT talent, but following him to the main roster to ruin his main roster debut is a fantastic story, and I don't think they've ever done anything quite like that. I mean, Sami Zayn debuted on the main roster against John Cena and busted his arm raising the roof. But we don't need to talk about that, do we? I mean, it's short hair, too. Anyways, I think Carmelo wins. I think they keep it nice and simple. I think if there's a big, big shock on this pay-per-view, it's in the women's match. Everything else, Trick Williams is a cool... what was it? He's a cool opponent for Dirty Dom. The tag team title match is just like, hey, here's some of our tag teams. Check them out. Aren't they cool? Braun Breaker versus Baron Corbin is just weird and I want to look at it. Noam Dar versus Butch is the British Rounds match. It's an entirely different type of match. That's what it is. Blair Davenport and Kalani Jordan is a kickoff match. It is what it is. And Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov round 2 is just going to be a solid match. There's a lot of things they could do with it. I think they're going to keep it simple. I think the big talking point coming out of this show is going to be the women's match. And the more and more that I talk about it, the more and more I'm thinking they might make Stratton versus Lynch the main event, which I don't mind. I don't mind. NXT were the ones that kind of broke the seal on the ladies main eventing their big shows, main eventing their PLEs, main eventing their takeovers, etc. Before WWE did it. Before WrestleMania did it, it was done on NXT. So you got Becky Lynch in there as a big name, big fish, small pond. They're doing it for a reason. Either way, it benefits Tiffany Stratton. If Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov round 2 isn't the main event, it won't exactly break my heart, but at the same time, I don't really know. The other thing that I should mention before we go off the air is there was a slight tease on NXT this week that Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be showing up soon as well. So, potentially, all kinds of AEW influence on the NXT landscape. What do you guys think? I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to you later. That's going to be later, but for right now, tag it out. Bye.